Hey guys, Nick here. I wanted to capture a quick screencast just to quickly go over this pretty amazing event that happened in our culture today, right? I'm sure if any of you guys are interested in crypto, which if you're here, you probably are, you've heard that this artist by the name of Beeple just sold a piece of artwork for an insane amount of money as an NFT. Now, if you guys haven't been following this artist, he's quite amazing. He's been doing every days, basically putting out new artwork every day for over 5,000 days. And this piece that was sold for close to $70 million was all the first 5,000 days of his everydays. So, there could be debates about is it worth that much money, this and that. The dedication that went into the creation of this piece of art alone is amazing. Every day for 5,000 days. But besides that, I wanted to kind of explore this to see what exactly is the NFT that was purchased for nearly $70 million and how is it represented on the blockchain. So I wanted to quickly just start here on the Christie's website, which is the company that represented the sale. And it's a very popular company that represents a lot of very large, iconic art sales. And from this listing here, which lists the sale price, and it also lists some information about the actual piece of art and what you're owning. So you can see down here that we see the wallet address, we see the smart contract address, and the token ID. So what I want to do in this video is I just want to go ahead and use Etherscan, which is a service that allows us to look at the Ethereum blockchain and inspect different smart contracts and transactions and accounts, and just poke around a little bit and see exactly what this NFT represents. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and grab this smart contract address, and I'm going to go ahead and head over to Etherscan. So etherscan.io, and I'm just going to go ahead and plug this smart contract address right into Etherscan. Now that's going to go ahead and bring up the smart contract. Now you can look at the contract code here, which it's all available right here. This is basically going to implement the token standard, right? That would allow us to own an NFT. And technically that is called the ERC 721 standard. It's basically a standard of functions that you would implement. Now, that's cool, but we can also look at the actual, let's go to this tracker here, right? So this contract, the actual contract is called the Maker's Token version 2. Now, that is one interesting aspect about NFTs is that you can declare that it's a unique asset, but it's a unique asset within the given contract that you minted that token in, right? So there could be multiple contracts out there with tokens in them, and there are. Like if you go to Rarible, this is the Maker Token V2 on Rarible. These are all of the NFTs that live inside of that contract. So Beeple's work lives inside of this Maker Token version 2, and there are a bunch of different smart contracts that implement this standard, right? This ERC 721 standard. So if we click this tracker, this gives us a little bit of a better way to interact with this contract, or an easier way, I should say. If we click the contract here, this is going to give us this interface. Now, on this, just on this first screen here, you can see that the maximum total supply is 46,172 MK2. There are currently about 6,100 holders. So that's just a little bit of stats here, but down here it's a little more interesting. This is taking that contract code that we were just looking at and put it out into this kind of user interface for us to interact with the smart contract right in our browser. So we could do things like expand this and see the name, which is a variable in the contract, and it's set to Maker's Token. And we can, any functions that have parameters, we can go ahead and see the parameters. You can see like the total supply is fixed here. This is the digital media store. Definitely don't understand 100% of what's going on in this contract. It seems like a lot of these contracts implement things in different ways, even though they are following that standard interface, which means they just implement a certain number of functions, but they can do it in different ways. there are a lot of different things to explore here. And it's super fun to just dive in here and read these contracts and explore how they're done. It's all in the open. So if we wanted to look at Beeple's work specifically and what this NFT actually is, we can look at this token ID, right? So I'm going to copy this. This token ID is 40,913. Now let's go back to this interface here. And this function here, get digital media release, we can go ahead and plug in the ID of 40,913, hit query. That's going to return to us the digital media ID of this work. Now this is, from what I understand, I've read a couple other NFT smart contracts, and this is a bit unique to this specific maker's token contract. Now if I go ahead and take this digital media ID and then go down to, which one is it? Where is it? Get digital media, and we plug in that digital media ID and query this. Now we have access to metadata pertaining to this NFT. And you can see there's a creator address, the total supply. This is a unique piece. There's only one piece. You can see the ID that we plugged in here is there, but we have this piece of information here, this little metadata path. And I think this is a really interesting component to NFTs where, you know, folks will be like, yeah, well, I could just copy the image and things like that. And, you know, it's this idea of content addressing on the internet. And this is when this technology called IPFS, or really more generally just content addressing in general, where we can take the hash value of content and then we can make an address out of it. So unlike DNS, which is like www.google.com, that's taking you to a location that then has content behind it. This is more of the actual address of the specific content itself. So this represents an IPFS address. Now what we can do is we can use publicly available gateways. There's one at dweb.link. If you do dweb.link/IPFS/ the content address and hit enter, this is going to return the metadata that is represented by this NFT. And you can see here, this is in a format called JSON format, I believe, right? This is valid JSON. It looks like it. And it has a key value. So I think it may be easier to read if we put it into like there's free JSON parsers on the internet, right? So let's go ahead and grab this JSON format. Here we go. So this puts it into a nice kind of hierarchical format we can read. And you can see here that the title is Every Days, the first 5,000 days. The image URL is right here. So this again is a link to an IPFS location. So the Beeple work is living within IPFS. That means that the address of this is specific to the content itself. And that's really important. So for some folks who are like, yeah, I could just copy this image and then post it and say I own it. If you post it to a content addressing system, the hash value of this content will be exactly the same, which would then feed into this NFT, and you would not be the represented owner of this content. So if we just copy this and paste it here, there's the work. There's the actual artwork. And it's down to the, you know, if you run a hash on this, it's going to be the actual real piece. Doesn't mean I own this piece, right? Because the hash of this is in IPFS, which is then inside of an NFT smart contract, which somebody just purchased for close to $70 million. So I think it's mega interesting to kind of break it down that way. And I just wanted to create a quick screencast for anybody else that would be interested to understand how this stuff actually works. I still have a ton to learn myself, and I look forward to diving in more into the future. This is on Long Island blockchain. We're trying to do a lot of events this year, virtual events and things like that. One of the things we're going to talk about is probably diving into some more of these details around NFTs. Because there's still questions, right? Like if I pass this image through, say, I don't know, like a compression algorithm or something like that, the hash would change, but visually the image may not really change. So there's some questions there about that. Doing stuff like that, or just changing one pixel essentially would change the hash value. So if anybody has any comments, anything to add to this conversation, please throw it in the comments below, and yeah, if you found it interesting, just comment. And if there's anything that I'm missing that we can learn together with, throw it in the comments. Let's have a conversation. Pretty amazing times we're living in right now, guys. Thanks.